Well, greyhound racing has always been at the core of Star Sports, as you know, as we sponsor the Greyhound Derby at Toaster and meeting upon meeting, grade ones all over the place at this time of year. So we thought we'd get somebody in to tell us all about what's going on in the world of greyhound racing, who's right at the core of Star Sports. It's a warm welcome to Emily Wallis, who's our PR executive for greyhound racing. Hi, Emily. Exciting times for everybody all around in greyhound racing when people seem to be walloping the sport, almost demising the sport, making it smaller than it is. But we're reaching new times, aren't we, with a brand new track at Dunstall Park. Is this the way ahead for greyhound racing, combining horse racing and greyhound racing at the same venue, do you think?
Definitely. I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea. I think, obviously, done right, it could be a really good thing for greyhound racing. I know a couple of tracks have it in Ireland. I went to Dundalk last year for their big sprint competition that they had, and they had a horse racing meeting in the daytime, the greyhounds at night, and the greyhounds was absolutely packed from people from the horse racing that stay on for the greyhounds. So I think, like I said, done right, if they can plan it right, then hopefully it's a new venture for ground racing that could really work.
Now, whether you know your greyhound racing or not, you'll know that we are in the presence of greyhound royalty because Emily, you'd have picked up from her surname, is the daughter of the great Mark Wallace, champion trainer, winner of a greyhound derby himself. What was it like growing up in a family where pivotal were greyhound racing? Everything was about the dogs, wasn't it? I suppose.
It certainly is. It's as my family always say, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. I've grown up in the kennels from when I was a baby. I've worked there my whole life. As long as I can remember, I've done Saturdays at the kennels through schools, summer holidays, university. I still worked there. I didn't move away because I would miss the dogs too much for university. So I stayed fairly local. And yeah, I've done every weekend as far back as I can remember. So very, very involved with the dogs as everyone is in my family. If you know the kennels, it's a very family run business. But yeah, it's just amazing. We always say we're so lucky to have the lifestyle that we do. We get to be around these amazing greyhounds every day, get to know them so well. And obviously we're very lucky in the success we've had as well.
And you're very entrenched now in Star Sports Racing, of course, and within the industry. Dare I say it? Dare I even mention or whisper it? Would there be a chance you would take over from your dad at all, do you think?
Definitely not. I have a brother who works full time, Daniel, for my dad. He is going to take over the license when that time comes, but I don't think there'll be a time when I stop being involved because I just love working with the dogs so much. But yeah, I've left that one to him.
Okay, that's great. And we're hearing, I don't know, ever since, I don't know, the last 20 years or so, this track is closing, another track is closing, which is really sad for the industry when you think in the 1950s there were 200 tracks in the country, over 50, 60 tracks in the late 70s, early 80s. And we heard that, well, Perry Barr's gone by the wayside as well, which has kind of initiated Dunstall Park creating a brand new greyhound track. What are your memories of Perry Barr in Birmingham?
Yeah, great memories there. We went there for all their sort of major competitions. So
Mm.
I've paraded a few winners around there. I remember the Laurels a couple of years ago. I paraded the one dog in the final and he got beat a short head. Everyone at the pickup thought I'd won, so they said well done to me. And then it was announced that I hadn't actually won. So that was a bit of a heartbreaker. So Perry Bar is always a bit mixed emotions for me, but I know my dad has had great success around there. I think we won the first St. Ledger that was run around there. We won the Scurry a couple of times in recent years around Perry Bar. So it's a track that was absolutely steeped in history. And we had a good few winners around there too. And it was always a really enjoyable track to go racing to as well. Sort of nice kennel facilities, the nice grandstand. You always get a decent enough crowd there too. So definitely sad to see it go.
And your dad's finest hour, obviously winning the Greyhound Derby at the now defunct Wimbledon. Were you there that night? Only a wee girl, I take it.
I was. So when we won it in 2009, I wasn't there. But when we won it again in 2012, I was, but I was
Yeah, yeah.
only eight years old, I believe. So I do have vague memories, but nothing sort of sticks in my mind too much about it. But I remember when Blonde Snapper crossed the line, obviously watching it in the stand, and everyone was jumping up and down around me, hugging. So it was, yeah, that is great memories. But I would love to win it again, either English or Irish Derby, now that we're going to remember it.
And tell us now, get sort of getting up to date, your involvement with Stoll Sports. What does your job uh, involve you doing on a day to day, or a week to week basis?
Yeah, so I originally started doing blogs for Star Sports around the Greyhound Derby a couple of years ago, which then last year turned into kennel visits and interviews at the track. So I've always done sort of a lot of freelance work with Star Sports around the Greyhounds. And a couple of months ago, I graduated from university in broadcast journalism, and now I am PR executive for Star Sports. So that's all sports, just a sort of general PR executive. But it's nice with Star Sports involvement in the Greyhounds. Obviously, Ben cares so much. He has such a passion for greyhound racing. So it's nice sort of still being involved in that way as well.
Now, we talked initially in the interview about Dunstall Park and this fabulous new facility, and of course, Toaster holds the Star Sports Greyhound Derby. Of course, I think it's in Northamptonshire, isn't it? I think that's the right county. If I'm wrong, my apologies. And this kind of new venture to greyhound racing, where the greyhound track is away from the crowds, when traditionally the crowds would be on top of the track. You think of your old Catfords, your Romfords, your Walthamstows, you could actually smell the greyhounds going by. But there's a big differential taking place. Do you think that kind of takes away from the ambience of the moment of a big race?
I don't think so. I think obviously we have Toaster, and a lot of people do have that complaint that the track is so far away from the grandstand. But personally, it's never been an issue for me. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have too many memories of the Derby around Wimbledon. So I can't really remember what it was like. Toaster's almost sort of what I've known, of course, as well as Nottingham when it went there. But I love Toaster, especially on the Derby nights. Last year was just absolutely exceptional. The crowd that they got in, the atmosphere, the
That was
Derby
manic, wasn't
Royal.
it? It was really mad. Yeah.
It was honestly, it was the best derby that I've experienced in my
Mm.
time in greyhound racing that I can remember. Because it was so busy and the atmosphere was actually absolutely electric. So I haven't been to Dunstall Park yet myself. I'm sure I'm going to go in the next couple of weeks with the Oaks starting there. But reports I've heard is that the viewing experience is probably better than people first thought it would be. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going and seeing myself. But I think with the horse racing, greyhound racing sort of joint venture, it's a new thing which can only be positive for the sport.
And tell me, there are going to be people listening and watching this podcast, and they're going to think, I prefer horse racing. It's more fun. I can maybe get a bet on easier. And they think, I've never thought about going greyhound racing, whatever, whether it be the weekend or the middle of the week. What would you say to these pessimists to get them in to go and watch a live greyhound meeting?
I would say go for it. Obviously, I've always been massively into my greyhounds through working with Star Sports. I do a lot of on-course work now at the horse racing, so I can definitely see the appeal. I'm getting much more into my horse racing, but my heart will always be with the greyhounds. Personally, I think it's obviously much faster pace. You have a race every 15 to 20 minutes rather than every 35 to 40 minutes. So I like the sort of fast-paced action of the greyhounds. And I just don't think there's anything better than, especially the top class racing, the St. Leger on Monday night. We were very lucky to win it with Mongi's Wild, who got bumped and barged at every bend, but did not give up. He just got up on the line and standing watching those sort of greyhounds run past you at 38 miles an hour, you just can't beat it. So if you've never been, please try it and you won't regret it.
Yeah, and they're just the most amazing athletes, aren't they? The way they move and the quicker they move, the more elegant they become. I've had a post racing greyhound in my family in the past, And they make the most wonderful docile pets, don't they?
Oh, they certainly do. They're very, very different when you take them home. We have three at home ourselves, including a little bitch called Far From an Angel that I actually owned from when she was a baby. So she's 8 now. She lives at home with me. And I know on a Saturday morning, she lays in her bed in my room and it's 6 o'clock. It's time to get up and go to the kennels. And you have to absolutely drag her out of the bed to try and get her to come to work with me. They're
They
so
love a rest,
lazy.
don't they? They love to
Yeah.
sleep. Yeah.
They certainly do. They're so, so lazy. But even the racing greyhounds in the kennels, they go out, obviously, they get paddocked multiple times a day, but they love their beds. They love their kennels. They have all four legs up in the air most of the day. They're so chilled out and they make the best pets.
Now, Dunstall Park has already started. We had a few trial meetings. We've had a main meeting as well. Are you going to be there most of the time, putting in your oar and well, just enjoying this new age of greyhound racing?
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to go there. It's a good sort of 2.5 hours from where I live, so it's not a quick trip, but I'm sure for all the sort of big race meetings and open race meetings that we'll have runners there, and I'll get to go. So I'm really looking forward to the first time I can go. Hopefully, like I said, in a couple of weeks because the Oaks is starting, so we're going to have a couple of entries for that.
Emily, it's been great to speak to you, and we'll have you back on Come Racing again and again and again to get your foresight and your insight into the world of greyhound racing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul.